Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping back, way back, to a really electric and pivotal moment. Get ready for a journey right into the heart of play, dreams, and competition. Our sources paint this amazing picture. It was a fine month of July 1979. In Japan, summer saw the rise of the famous cocktail cabinets, spreading through cafes and turning breaks into true electronic duels. Sitting face-to-face, players locked eyes over the screen, a drink beside them, as if video games had blended seamlessly into everyday life. At the same time, the entire country was preparing for the release of Galaxy Express 999, already announced as a major cultural event, while stadiums resonated with the excitement of the baseball championship.
Wow.
Arcades, cinema, and sport. In this summer of 1979, these passions together painted the portrait of a generation devoted to play, dreams, and competition. That opening, it just instantly transports you, doesn't it?
It really does.
It sets the scene so vividly for our deep dive today into Japan's, well, absolutely buzzing arcade and video game scene in July 1979. In this period, as we're about to unpack, it was so much more than just, a boom in games.
Yeah.
It was this fascinating collision of super fast innovation, huge social shifts, and some really unexpected challenges that were reshaping entertainment.
And what's fascinating here is how the whole idea of play was getting incredibly complex really fast. It was moving from being this niche thing to a massive cultural force.
Right.
So our mission today is to unpack that complexity for you. We'll dig into the specific news, the strategies from the big players, Sega, Nintendo, Taito, Namco, and their competitors too. We'll uncover some surprising trends, share some pretty memorable anecdotes from this key moment, and crucially, try to distill the core lessons. By the end, you should have a really clear picture of just how dynamic and challenging and maybe even foresightful this whole booming industry was becoming.
Okay, let's dive in then. Our sources show that July 1979 was just dominated by this, unprecedented popularity of invader-type TV game machines across Japan.
The invader boom.
Exactly. And not just arcades, right? These games were popping up everywhere. Those famous cocktail cabinets where you'd sit facing your opponent over the screen. They were spreading through cafes, department stores, even supermarkets.
Everywhere.
But this explosive spread, it wasn't just a commercial success story. It led to some intense and frankly unforeseen social scrutiny. It felt like the whole country suddenly had an opinion, often a pretty strong one, about video games.
Indeed. And this rapid spread quickly got the attention of the authorities and the public. The police agency, for example, they actually did a nationwide survey.
Really?
Yeah, and based on that, they issued some pretty stern directives in May and June of '79. This was down to two main worries. First, what they called excessive competition among the operators, like offering prizes, which they thought encouraged gambling-like behavior. And second, maybe more alarmingly, was this perceived rise in juvenile delinquency directly tied to the games.
The classic panic.
Right. We're talking specific reports of truancy kids skipping school to play, and even theft. Young people apparently stealing money just to feed the machines.
Wow.
And that raises a big question, For any new industry, how do you navigate that kind of immediate, serious public and government pressure, especially when your very success is being framed as a social problem?
That's a huge point. And the industry did react pretty quickly, actually. The Japan Amusement Machine Association, the JAA, they brought in self-regulation guidelines on June 2nd.
Proactive.
Yeah, it was a proactive step. They launched this poster campaign, please use Invader, game correctly for their member businesses, trying to educate, show responsibility, that sort of thing. But here's where the sources reveal something quite surprising, especially about the government's view. The National Diet Education Committee, that's like Japan's Parliamentary Education Committee, they wanted to understand this whole invader education debate. So they actually visited arcades in places like Shinjuku and Kabukicho, busy areas.
Boots on the ground.
Exactly. And their conclusion, after seeing it all firsthand, they basically said, Invader game is not bad.
That's pretty remarkable.
Isn't it? Government body giving this controversial new entertainment a sort of qualified thumbs up.
What's really fascinating, though, is the contrast between that, national level, fairly positive view and what was happening locally.
Right.
In places like Takamatsu and Okayama, local PTAs and schools brought in incredibly strict measures. We're talking outright invader game bans.
Bans, even for kids with parents.
Yes, even if accompanied by parents. It shows this really deep local anxiety. Now, from the arcade operator's viewpoint, this felt like a huge misunderstanding, pure prejudice, really.
I can imagine.
They felt the industry suffered from a low social status, which definitely colored how people, especially parents, saw them. Some operators, like one from Joypack Fun Fan in Okayama, voiced frustration, but also, significantly, a desire for the industry itself to get its act together, present a unified, stronger, more legitimate front.
So the pressure was building internally, too.
Exactly. And linking this to the bigger picture, the industry also started admitting to problems like improper use, specifically this common issue of 5 yen coins being used in 100 yen machines.
Cheating the system.
Pretty much. But instead of just blaming the players, there was this significant self-reflection happening. Operators started, lamenting their own poor management for not preventing it.
Taking responsibility.
Right. The core insight, maybe, is that for an industry to grow up, it has to move past just blaming outsiders and look inwards, fix its own operational issues alongside managing public perception.
So it's this incredible mix, massive growth, public fascination, but also this image problem, external scrutiny, internal operational headaches.
Yeah, a real crucible.
Yet, amidst all that, the innovation just kept rolling. Let's pivot now to the companies really driving this boom, starting with Namco, a name that definitely rings a bell today.
Oh yeah, Namco was really building serious momentum then. Our sources show they hit their 25th anniversary on June 1st, 1979.
Quarter century.
And it wasn't just cake and candles. They had a huge capital increase, jumped from 240 million yen up to 400 million yen.
Wow, that's serious investment.
It speaks volumes about their confidence, their ambition, and they had big plans, targeting a listing on the Tokyo Stock Exchange second section around 1983.
A stock market listing for an arcade company.
Exactly. It would have been a first for a game machine specialist company.
Okay.
Now, Nintendo was already listed, but on Osaka's first section, and remember, they started with playing cards, not purely arcade machines like Namco.
Right, different origins.
So this move by Namco, it was about legitimizing the arcade business itself in the financial world. And financially, they were strong. Sales hit 9.06 billion yen, ordinary profit 1.7 billion yen for the year ending May 79.
Impressive numbers.
And of course, this success was built on releasing compelling new stuff, like the Superman pinball machine tied into the Warner Bros. Movie.
Ah, the movie tie-in?
Yeah, smart move. Plus an electronic mechanical game called Submarine, and TV games like GB and Super Breakout. They're covering multiple angles.
Definitely a multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Sega, another giant still around today? What were they up to in that buzzing summer, and what do their roots tell us?
Sega was diversifying like crazy, too. Their new TV game lineup that summer included Head On.
Head On. What was that?
It was this really unique driving game. You had to clear dots on the screen, but also dodge a computer car. Pretty novel stuff for the time.
Sounds tricky.
Yeah. They also put out Upset Block, Special Duel, and Triple Attack, which was clever. A 3-in-1 space war game. Gave players variety in one cabinet.
Smart.
And looking back at Sega's origins, which our sources traced to the 1960 Rosen Enterprises catalog, is fascinating. The name Sega came from Service Games, Japan. And their earlier focus was super broad. Before video games really took off, they were big in gun games, baseball, basketball, hockey machines, all sorts of amusement stuff. That history gave them a really wide base of experience to draw on when video games exploded.
Makes sense. And then there's Taito. The original Invader creators, their impact was just massive. What was their play during the summer, given that huge success?
Taito was definitely riding the Invader wave hard. They had loads of variations, upright cabinets, those super popular cocktail tables that made it social face-to-face.
Right, the cocktail tables were huge.
But they weren't just milking Space Invaders. They had other hits, too, like Block Fever, Zunzun Block, Field Gold, kept the innovation going.
Diversifying even within games.
And beyond games. What's really notable is their push into jukeboxes models like the TK808, STD4, and karaoke machines like Celestia, Hitbox TK.
Jukeboxes and karaoke. Interesting move.
It shows they saw the amusement industry as broader than just video games. It was about the whole entertainment experience. And remember those operational issues we talked about?
Yeah, the coin problems.
Exactly. Taito released a new Space Invader machine fitted with a theft prevention alarm. A loud one, 95 decibels.
95 decibels. That would clear an arcade.
Imagine. But it was a direct answer to operators losing money. Shows the real-world challenges they were tackling, not just designing fun games.
A 95 decibel alarm really sums up the slightly chaotic vibe back then. What about other players? Maybe smaller companies, but ones doing interesting stuff like Irem.
Yeah, IRIM's interesting. They officially changed their name from IPM to IRIM Inc. right on July 1st, 1979, and they were making a strategic shift, focusing heavily on microcomputers.
I have a curve there.
Seems like it. Recognizing the power of that tech early on, their new game was PT Capsule Invader, basically an upgrade to their PT Invader. It had UFOs dropping capsule invaders and even a coffee break pattern.
A coffee break in an invader game.
Yeah, a little breather for the player. But beyond IRIM, you had others showing the market's breadth. Mitsui had a cocktail cabinet called Castle Take, notably with a color monitor.
Color was still a big deal then.
Oh, yeah. And KTU had this clever fix, the color mask, designed to convert existing black and white invaders to color. A smart upgrade path for operator.
Resourceful.
Then you had Takara Chemical, with a ride called Space Cargo, nicknamed Saturn-chan, showed amusement wasn't just screens, and Sigma brought out a CPU-based TV poker, early digital card games.
Wow, lots happening.
And it wasn't just the machines. The Invader craze was so big you could buy Invader key holders, necktie pins, badges. Promotional merch was everywhere. It had seeped into everyday culture.
That really shows how pervasive it was. Okay, so looking beyond the games and the companies, what about the bigger picture, the sort of structural changes, the broader issues shaping the whole industry in July '79? Sounds like things were evolving fast on multiple fronts.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, a key thing was this increasing push for regulation and sort of formalization. The Electric Product Control Law, for example, it mandated type approval and certification for amusement machines.
Standardization, basically. Safety and quality.
Exactly, a crucial step. And the JAA, the Industry Association, played a big part promoting certified products. The core idea here is as an industry blows up and gets public attention, that drive for formal legitimacy becomes really important, moving from the Wild West to something more structured, more recognized.
Makes sense.
And what's also fascinating is how technology itself was driving things, those unique electronic sounds from Invader games. They were apparently a big feature at the Microcomputer Show in Osaka in late June.
Games influencing tech shows.
Yeah, it clearly signaled this growing link between games and microcomputing, foreshadowing how tangled up those two fields would become, driving innovation for decades.
So the industry was getting more regulated, more tech-savvy, basically growing up. Yeah. What about internationally? Our sources mentioned some complicated stuff happening in the U.S. market. Sounds like typical intense competition.
And this brings up the global nature of it all, even back then. The U.S. market was definitely churning. Our sources talk about leadership changes and quite a bit of confusion at U.S. companies Vectrex Co. and Cinematronics Co.
Confusion over what?
Specifically over who created or owned the rights to seminal vector games like Space War and Star Wars. It mentions Paul Jacob, the inventor at Vectrex, lost his presidency. And Larry Rosen from Cinematronics apparently became irrelevant to both firms.
Wow, drama.
And then Renoir Sayers, who used to be a sales manager at Atari, joined Vectrex, bringing in heavy experience. The source noted that this messy situation, with people shifting around, might actually lead to a stronger combination than just Atari merging with key games.
Interesting take.
It paints a picture of a very fluid, fiercely competitive, maybe slightly opaque global game industry where alliances were constantly shifting.
Sounds intense. So how were Japanese operators keeping up with all this international action? Were they just focused inward?
No, not at all. They were remarkably proactive, actually. They regularly went on these integrated business and sightseeing tours to the U.S.
Business and sightseeing.
Yeah, but these weren't just holidays. They were serious study trips designed to soak up international best practices. They'd hit the big trade shows, MOA Expo, IAPA, show critical places to see new gear, understand trends.
Learning from the competition or collaborators.
Right, and they'd visit places like Disney World, Las Vegas, not just for fun, but to study how entertainment, amusement, and operations were done internationally. It shows this clear intent to learn, adapt, bring global ideas back home. They knew innovation wasn't just happening in Japan.
Smart.
And it wasn't only video games. Pinball, for instance, was evolving fast in the U.S., too. Bally US, a huge player, decided to spin off its pinball division because it was growing so rapidly.
Specialization kicking in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Bally started a new rental program for pinball machines. Innovative business models were popping up, and you can bet the Japanese operators on those tours were taking notes.
So let's try and wrap this up. What does it all mean? As we finish this deep dive, it's crystal clear that July 1979 was just this incredibly pivotal, really multifaceted moment for Japan's arcade and amusement world. Huge growth, wild creativity for sure, but also serious social growing pains, new regulations coming in, and this real push for legitimacy.
Precisely. This dive really highlights that dynamic interplay, doesn't it? Between the super fast tech innovation, the massive consumer excitement, and then these sometimes quite uneasy reactions from society. There was this constant tension. Public perception, often driven by, fear of the new, versus the industry's strong desire to be seen as legitimate, as having higher social status, not just some fad, but a real valuable form of entertainment.
So as you think about this amazing snapshot from 1979, maybe consider this.
Yeah.
How do those fundamental challenges, managing a booming entertainment sector, balancing relentless innovation with social responsibility, handling complex regulations, ensuring fair play, operational security, how do those things still echo today?
They really do.
Think about our current digital landscape. Online gaming, VR, the latest platforms. What lessons from that summer of '79, especially around public perception, self-regulation, dealing with rapid tech change, what might still resonate right now?